everybody. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my plans for the 2018 Make 9. If you guys aren't familiar with the 2018 Make 9 challenge, it is a gentle challenge for makers from the Home Row Fiber Co. The challenge is basically pick 9 items that you're going to make over the next year and try to make them by the time the year's up. Of course, I'm going to be making lots more than 9 items, but it's a way to try to curate and focus your collection. To go along with the challenge and to help you out, there are 9 prompt questions that you can use to help pick your 9 items. Apologies because I have to read this from my phone, but the 9 questions are: what do you want or need? What did you learn from your last year's successes and failures? What values are important to you? What's in your laundry basket right now that you wear all the time? What types of things do you really love making? Are you a seasonal maker? What kind of time do you have to make these sorts of projects? Are you looking to stash bust? And is there a new to you type of project that you want to explore? Question 3 was especially inspiring to me. Some of you may know I work for a Made in USA textile company, and we are extremely proud to be made in the USA. I have been recently thinking a lot about taking those values and bringing them more into my own home sewing and personal sewing. And while I believe that going to 100% Made in USA materials on everything that I make is a nearly impossible task, I figure that it's a great way to start and get my toes wet in that sort of challenge by using my Make 9. I won't be using only Made in USA materials because unfortunately there are just things that aren't made in the USA at all anymore, but I'm going to be using the whole Make 9 challenge as a way to challenge myself to be more ethical as a maker. Ethics means a lot of things to different people, but I think that a lot of people start home sewing because they're looking to get away from the fast fashion industry. There are many different criticisms for the fast fashion industry, one of which is the consumerism of buying many things way more than you can use. And other criticisms of the fast fashion industry include its effects on the environment or its effect on the people who make those clothes, sometimes in sweatshop conditions. As home sewers, getting out of the fast fashion industry is great to eliminate the horrible abuses that can happen in the cut and sew industry, but that's not the only thing that happens when we're making our clothes. The fabrics that we're buying as well were made by human hands, as well as the fibers were either picked by farmers or made in another manufacturing facility with people there. So I feel that as home sewers, if we're using home sewing for an ethical reason, we should go further to make sure that the fabrics, the notions, and the materials that we're buying were also made in an ethical way. For me, the people aspect is the most important part to me. I want to be sure that before anything else, we're taking care of all of the other humans on this planet. And so for me, ethics in my own personal home sewing is making sure that the items were produced in ways that have ethical labor standards and making sure that all the workers were treated fairly. I know that Made in USA textiles are generally going to have had very good labor standards because we have good labor standards in this country and we heavily enforce them as well. But not all textiles are made in the USA anymore, so I'm going to have to branch out. I also feel comfortable shopping from EU countries and Australia, but for other countries it's sometimes a little hard to know what's good and what's bad, and unfortunately there isn't any one checklist of yes, this is good and no, that's bad. The closest thing that I found to a checklist is the ILO's website. The ILO is the International Labor Organization, which is a project from the United Nations, and they work on scoring various countries and working with them to implement better procedures and eliminate child labor, forced labor, and forced child labor. On their website, you can go and look up a country or an industry and see whether or not that industry in that country produces in child labor and forced child labor, and they also include many various textile industries on this list. The ILO doesn't cover every country, unfortunately, but it is a great place to start in seeing if a country that you maybe have found a piece of fabric or a notion from participates in child labor or forced labor in that industry. Another resource for you that's helpful is just to use Google. Not all countries are included in ILO, and one country that I was interested in learning more about was Russia because my favorite linen is made in Russia, and Russia isn't monitored by the ILO anymore. So I started by Googling information about Russia's labor laws and found out that they have very good labor laws that are very similar to the labor laws we have here in the United States. Maximum 40-hour work week, restrictions on age in the labor force, guaranteed paid time off, and things like that are all included in Russia's labor code, but the labor codes themselves aren't the only thing that you can go by because different countries have different levels of enforcement. That after Googling a country's labor code or labor laws, the next thing that I would Google is that country plus sweatshop, or that country plus slave labor, or migrant slave labor, or child labor. And look at the articles that come up, see how frequent they are, see how recent they are, and then you just have to make your own decisions about whether or not you feel comfortable purchasing an item from that country when there is a possibility that it may have come from a manufacturer who used forced or child labor. The last resource that I found for knowing whether or not a fabric or a notion was produced in an ethical way is GOTS, which stands for the Global Organic Textile Standard. This one is going to be very important to you if you consider environment the most important part of ethics in your home sewing, but it also does touch just a little bit on labor laws as well. GOTS ensures that from every step of the process, from when the fiber is grown through the end milling processes, the fiber is organic and good for the environment. It also has small sections of its code referencing how the people who are working in those conditions are treated, trying to have them be paid fair wages and treated in a fair way and not forced to work. I have not been able to really understand yet how GOTS is enforced, how often those companies are audited for compliance with the GOTS standard and other things like that. But I do see GOTS certified fabrics coming out of countries whose industries otherwise participate in forced and child labor, and it might be a way for you to help know whether or not something was at least attempted to be made in a more ethical way. Now I want to share with you guys the patterns that I chose for my Make 9. Because I'm trying to make all of my Make 9 pieces in an ethical way, I wanted to show myself and others that I could make a complete wardrobe in an ethical way. So for my 9 patterns, I chose 9 different categories, which I find personally in my wardrobe very frequently, and then I chose a pattern to fit that category. The first category that I chose is, of course, underwear, and for that I chose the Watson bra and bikini pattern from Cloth Habit. I like that the Watson bra looks a lot more like a bralette, which is what I wear every day, and that it also came with an included underpants pattern, so I could get 2 patterns in one. The next category that I chose was layering pieces, and so I chose 2 patterns for this. The first is the Ogden cami from True Bias, which everyone knows is a very, very popular pattern, and it's been on my list to make for a while, so I chose the Ogden cami. The second layering piece that I chose is the Carrie cardigan from Delia Creates. And I purchased both of those patterns from IndieSew. The next pattern that I chose is a knit top, and for the knit top I chose the Fairlift pattern from Blank Slate Patterns. I love the super wide ballet inspired neckline on the Fairlift, and I like that they have different sleeve options and even different body options, so I can make a swing top or a fitted top. Another category that I chose is loungewear, because when I'm at home you will always find me in sweatpants. And for that I chose the, again, very, very popular Hudson Pants pattern from True Bias. The next pattern that I chose is also going to be one of my challenge patterns for this year, and that is an outerwear pattern, which is the Kelly Anorak from Closet Case Patterns. I have loved seeing everyone's Kellys that they're making, and I have been very jealous of them, so I am excited to finally make one of my own. I think that the Kelly is also going to be one of my biggest challenge in finding all ethically sourced materials for it, because pretty much the only zipper company that I know of is YKK Zippers, and I know that they're not manufactured in the US. If you guys know of any zipper manufacturers other than YKK, please let me know, and I will do all of the research and contacting the company or anything that needs to be done to find out where they're made so that I can share that information with you. There's also the snaps and things on the Kelly, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find snaps made in the USA or even just find snaps where I can find out what they're made, but I can always go to using only buttons on a pattern like that, and I know that there are lots of independent button makers in the US and around the world, so buttons are going to be something very easy to source for me. The next challenge category that I chose for myself is to make jeans, and for jeans I chose the Jamie Jeans pattern from Name Clothing. I love that they look a little bit different than traditional jeans. They have a slash pocket instead of a scoop pocket, and they have a seam running down the front, so they look a little bit more like trousers. I won't be making these jeans until later in the year because I've been going to the gym a lot, my body's been changing, and I want to make sure that the jeans fit me really, really well, so I'm going to wait a little bit before I make them. For these jeans, I do already have the fabric, and that is because denim is unfortunately now one textile material which you can no longer buy made in the USA. Last month in December, the last denim plant in the US, the White Oak plant from Cone Denim in Greensboro, North Carolina, shut its doors. They always sold their fabrics though through a consumer site, the White Oak Shop, and I got what I think may be the last roll of stretch denim from them. I had to buy 10 yards because it was the only option left, and after I bought it, you couldn't find it on their website anymore. So I think I got the last roll, but it is beautiful, beautiful denim. I am glad to have be using a legacy denim like Cone Denim. It's just very sad that they won't be manufacturing in the US anymore, especially since they are such an influential brand in denim, in the denim industry, in the US textile industry. Even in my schooling, Cone Denim sponsored a lot of things at my school, so it's sad to see the White Oak plant close their doors. The other pants pattern that I chose is something I wear every single day to work, and that is stretchy pants. I'm a huge believer in #secret pajamas, and all of my pants that I wear to work are very, very stretch woven or ponte. For these, I've chosen the Sabrina Slims pattern from Love Notions Patterns, and I'm really excited to make these. Again, they have the option of having a slit down the front, they have welt pockets on the back, and there's also an option to add front pockets to it as well. I already have some ponte, so I know I'm going to be making a lot of pairs of Sabrinas, but I have yet to find an ethically made ponte, although I think I found a Made in USA ponte on Mood that I'll probably be buying for this pattern. The last pattern that I chose is one that kind of speaks to my heart. It would have been very easy for me to choose 9 pretty dresses to put on my Make 9, but the truth is I really don't wear dresses that often because I don't wear dresses to work, and so I can only wear them on the weekends in the summertime a lot. But I chose to put one pretty dress on there, and it's probably going to be my birthday dress because I like to make myself a dress out of some beautiful fabric as a birthday present to myself. I chose the So Over It Eve wrap dress pattern. I always gravitate towards wrap dresses when I'm shopping for ready-to-wear dresses, and so I knew that this pattern was going to be exactly what I wanted, and I knew that I would love it once I made it. But again, I probably will get to it towards the end of this year because it is going to be made for my birthday. I also wanted to give you guys some resources for where you can start to look for ethically made fabrics. I haven't found everything yet, and I'm still looking for a lot of things, but I can guarantee you that once I finish one of my Make 9 makes in a fully ethical way, I'll be making a video about it so that I can share with you the resources and the materials that I use. If you do a lot of shopping in person, many fabric stores like Hobby Lobby and Joann's will have the country of origin on the bolt, so make sure that you check that out. If you're like me and do most of your fabric shopping online, some online fabric stores list the country of origin, but some of them are better at it than others. Fabric.com lists country of origin on every single one of their fabrics, but most of them that I have seen, actually all of them that I have seen, say USA or imported, which gives me no information about where the fabric was actually made. Even a line of quilting cottons, which are titled Made in USA Quilting Cottons, say USA or imported under country of origin on Fabric.com. So it just hasn't been very helpful to me, but I hope that in the future they improve that feature and start listing the true country of origin. Mood Fabric as well lists country of origin, and while they don't know the country of origin on every single one of their fabrics because they buy a lot of closeout and overstock fabrics from designers, if they do know the country of origin, they put it down, and that has been really helpful. I've even talked to Mood about having one day in the future their country of origin field be searchable, which would be really great. But I do know that at least for all of their fabrics that come from Italy, it usually says Italian in the title, so if you go on Mood and search Italian, you'll find a bunch of made in Italy fabrics. For everything else, currently I've just been using the wish list feature on Mood, and I go through categories clicking on any fabrics that I find interesting and seeing if the country of origin is on my list of countries that I am comfortable using materials from. There are a few Made in USA textiles on Mood, as well as there are a ton of Italian textiles on Mood. I've also found French, English, and Australian fabrics on Mood, and they are all on my wish list so that when I have a project come up and I know I want to make it using a fabric from a country where I know that people are probably treated fairly in the labor force, I'll be able to go to my Mood wish list and order off of that. Another fabric store which is really great for getting Made in USA textiles from is Raspberry Creek. Raspberry Creek is a fabric store which carries many fabrics, but they also print their own club line of fabrics, and they print them here in the US. Their jersey and French terry fabrics that they use in their club line of designs is made in Los Angeles, California, and Raspberry Creek even does custom printing options. I don't know what their minimums are like, especially in comparison to a custom printing option like Spoonflower, but you can know that all of Raspberry Creek's fabrics are made and printed here in the US, and they have lots of really cute patterns. Another fabric store which I have found to be really good for Made in USA textiles is Organic Cottons Plus. They have a ton of organic cotton knits especially. They are a really great resource for that. They don't have a lot of prints, and they have a very wide range of colors of their knits because their products, being organic, are also dyed in an organic way. But they do sell a lot of unbleached cottons, so if you're interested in dyeing your own fabric, they're a great resource for that. They list every country of origin on their fabrics, and I found a ton of Made in USA knits from them. They also have a lot of GOTS certified fabrics as well if you're interested in finding GOTS fabrics. Another great option is all of the independent fabric shops we have nowadays. We didn't used to have this, but nowadays people run independent fabric shops out of their own homes and through Facebook groups instead of having a true storefront. And what this gives us is an incredible level of access to the people actually purchasing the fabrics. You can contact the owners of independent fabric shops and ask them, hey, where did you get this fabric from? Or like, hey, would you be willing to carry a Made in USA fabric? Can you source that for me? And sometimes, guys, they'll help you out. I already purchased fabric for my Hudson pants, which is made in the USA, because Search Fabric Shop, an independent fabric shop that I have shopped from many times, asked what we were interested in seeing from them in 2018, and I mentioned Made in USA textiles. A couple weeks later, they stocked Alpine sweatshirt fleece, which is made in the USA, and they're advertising it as being made in the USA, whereas before they didn't necessarily advertise where their fabrics were from. I've emailed many other independent fabric stores and simply asked them, hey, where do you get your fabric from, or this fabric, where is it from? And they're usually very, very helpful and answer me. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask. You might be surprised by what the answer is. There are a few other options besides only purchasing Made in USA materials. One option that I wanted to talk about was recently on the IndieSew blog, and that is overstock fabrics. When large clothing manufacturers and designers purchase a ton of fabric from fabric mills and can't use it all, they sell it often at a loss to overstock brokers who then sell it to smaller fabric shops like IndieSew. These fabrics have already been produced and would otherwise be thrown in a landfill somewhere where unfortunately a lot of textiles, being synthetic, don't easily break down. Buying overstock fabrics is a great way to have a smaller ecological footprint in your sewing, and even though they may have been made in unethical labor conditions, purchasing that fabric doesn't create a demand for more fabric like that to be created, since the original designers or garment manufacturers are often selling those fabrics at a loss. They're not going to overbuy on purpose so that they can sell overstock fabric later, so you are just kind of feeding off the beast instead of creating the issue yourself. Another way to be more ethical in your sewing is to use vintage and secondhand finds. There are lots of textiles to be found at various thrift stores and scrap exchanges, artist collectives, things like that. And so you can go there and find fabric. You can go buy bed sheets at the thrift store. You can go buy clothes which are sized over your size at the thrift store and cut them down. And there's a lot of good resources there for finding those. I will say that don't try to use vintage elastics. Elastic themselves break down over time, and they just will not have the stretch back that elastic's known for, and they'll often just stretch out and break like an old rubber band. Besides fabric, I also want to be sure that the notions and materials that I'm using are also ethically sourced. For these, the easiest ones I can see are buttons and thread. Buttons are handmade by lots of people. You can purchase hand-whittled wooden buttons, probably from a local maker in your community. Lots of people in the historical sewing community cast their own brass or pewter buttons in historical replicas. And I've also seen some really cute polymer clay buttons on Etsy. Thread is easy as well, simply because I happen to know that one of the major thread manufacturers does a lot of their manufacturing in the US. American Effred is a thread manufacturer which manufactures for many in the sewing industry, but they also have many consumer brands. MaxiLux Serger thread is made by A&E, and while it's not made 100% in the USA, it is processed in North Carolina, so at least part of the process is being done locally to me. They have another brand of sewing thread called Intressa, which is manufactured from beginning to end here in North Carolina. I will be buying Intressa threads for all of my Make 9 since I know that they are made locally to me, and I'm really excited to have found a great resource for that. A&E also owns Guterman, but they don't have Guterman listed on their consumer site because I think it's an A&E America site versus an A&E International site. I don't know whether or not Guterman is manufactured in Germany, but I do know that Guterman threads are beholden to a lot of EU laws about wastewater and other environmental concerns. So Guterman may be manufactured in Germany, but I am not 100% sure about that yet. A&E also owns YKK, but unfortunately their YKK zippers are all manufactured overseas from what I can tell. YKK is definitely the biggest zipper brand that's out there, so I have been struggling to find non-YKK zippers, but if you guys know of other zipper brands, please let me know and I will do some research into where they're manufactured. Elastic is another one that I've currently been struggling with. I know personally of at least 3 elastic manufacturers in North Carolina because we do business with them at work, but none of them sell to consumers, and that is because the variety that consumers need combined with the very, very, very tiny amounts that consumers need means that for US-based manufacturing at least, the profits just aren't there. The elastic manufacturers that I work with all have minimums of at least 10,000 and they do very limited ranges of elastics. I do know that most of Dritz elastics are manufactured in China, although I will say that the Dritz company was very, very helpful to me, and when I told them I was looking for made in USA elastic, they forwarded me to a couple other elastic manufacturers. I'm still waiting to hear back from them on whether or not they sell to consumers, but I will be sure to update you guys on any resources that I find once I do find them. I don't want to cheat and just use elastic from my industry contacts, even though I do have a lot of elastic at home, which is waste elastic from work. I want to do this in a way that's not just easy to do for someone who already works in the textile industry, but that's easy to do for everyone. So I am going to try my hardest to find elastic made in the USA or made in the EU and let you guys know where you can purchase that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that if you didn't know anything about Make 9, I have inspired you to do your own Make 9, and I hope that if you are participating in Make 9, I've maybe given you some stuff to think about. I would love for you guys to join me on this journey of more ethical sewing and crafting, and so make sure that you guys subscribe here to my YouTube channel to see all my updates once I complete the items in Make 9. Make sure that you also follow me on Instagram, which is the main platform for the Make 9 challenge. I'm Ms. Jen Makes. Thanks and have a great day.